Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Welcome back to Next Generation. My name is Jen and today we will be making this DIY collection display. So here is my crystal collection currently. It is just sitting on my dresser, and now that I have a bunch of pieces, I wanted to figure out a way to display them up on my wall and have some type of lighting so that you can see all of the pretty detailing. So that's what we're doing today. This was super easy, also of course inexpensive like most of my videos on my channel. As usual, we will first start with everything that you need to make it. First up, you will need a panel for the back. At the hardware store, they do have project panels, so these are cut to easy to work with sizes. So this one was perfect for the size that I wanted my display case. So if you wanted a larger one, then I would suggest getting a piece of plywood, and you can always cut it down to whatever size that you would like. Next up, you will need something for the frame. So I used a 1x3 and I got two 8-foot pieces. You will need some type of paint. I first started off with white spray paint, but I ended up using just some white paint that I had at home. If you want yours to be a little more opaque, then I would recommend using spray paint, but I wanted mine to be a really bright white, so that's why I ended up having to use paint. You'll need an LED strip. This one is battery operated, so I don't have to worry about plugging it in. And as far as tools, you will need a drill and some screws, and then if you don't have a saw at home, most hardware stores do a free cut when you purchase wood, so I do recommend bringing your measurements with you if you wanted to have them cut it for you. Now I'm going to make all of my measurements so I can cut the wood. I do like to measure and cut as I go, so I'm only measuring the first board and then measure each piece because I want to be sure that everything fits together perfectly. So now I'm just cutting all of the boards. If you are interested in the sizing and the exact measurements, I do have everything listed down below in the description. And when I cut wood, I always like to sand the edges because there will be some sharp pieces sticking out after you cut it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to sand all of the boards before I go to paint them. So for the frame, I spray painted them and that looked fine. I did 2 coats total, but for the backing, the spray paint did not show up at all. So that's when I ended up pulling out the white paint, and this just made it look really nice and bright. So once you're finished painting everything and it has all dried, I'm gonna go ahead and assemble the frame. So all I did for this was flip the back upside down, and I'm gonna pre-drill where I'm going to put the screws. This is just going to make it easier once I go to add the screws. As you can see, when you pre-drill it through to the board, it does leave little tiny holes, so I'm just going to pre-drill that as well. And then I'm going to take the 3 screws and add those, and now our first piece of our border is in place. Since I will have crystals on this bottom piece of the frame, I did go ahead and add 4 screws instead of 3. So I'm first going to pre-drill it just like I did the other one, and then add all of the screws. For the light, if you wanted the battery pack on the back so that you don't see it, you can just have this cord in the corner so that the cord is tucked tightly in the corner. But I'm gonna have my battery pack in the front and a crystal in front of that so you don't see it. This way it's just easier to turn it on and off with the switch. So now I'm flipping it over and adding the 2 sides just like I did the top and the bottom, just pre-drilling all my holes and then adding all of the screws. Now that our frame is all in place, I'm going to attach the LED strip around the entire border on the inside. And now I'm going to begin assembling the inside shelves. So I'm first going to map it all out, and then once I'm finished that, I'm gonna go ahead and drill them all into place. So I'm first going to start with this one vertical piece. I'm going to add a screw right through the bottom to hold that one in place. And you can measure from the front exactly where you want the screw placed on the back. So I'm gonna flip it over and add a screw right through the back as well, so that we have 2 screws holding this board into place. So once I add that screw, I'm going to repeat that same process throughout all of the shelves. I'm first going to see where I want them. I did use a level to kind of help with making the shelf as straight as possible. Once you have your shelf in place, you measure exactly how you want it in the front, flip it over and put those measurements on the back, pre-drill, and then drill all of your screws into place. I hope my explanation makes sense. If not, then I hope the video footage makes sense for you guys. Once you have finished adding all of your shelves, you can just lean the entire frame up against a wall or put it on a dresser, but I want to hang mine up on a wall, so I am going to add a hook on the back. Since it was pretty heavy, once I hung it up on the wall, I did end up adding 2 hooks, one on each side, so I do recommend doing that. So once you add your hook, you just want to hang it up on the wall, add all of your crystals. I also added some candles, and then you are finished with this DIY. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye guys.